Voss does say there are three elements entering into the problem to be solved. The first is the psychological fact of the conviction on the part of the prophets. Everyone seems to recognize this. Very few, even critical scholars, would say that the prophets didn't think that they received the word of God. They'd have different reasons for why. Maybe they're on drugs or something, hallucinating. But then the second is the continuity of the prophetic movement with its claim to supernaturalism during so many centuries. So this isn't just a one-off thing, but it's a claim that has remained steady throughout many, many years and many different prophets in many different regions, all people worshiping Yahweh. The third is the remarkable body of predictions that has accompanied the movement in its course, the whole teleological trend of it towards a distant consummation, in point of which no movement in the history of religions can be compared with it. So what's the setting in which we should understand these, not just a bare kind of rationalistic evidentiary approach to these things, but how is it helpful the way Voss describes it, and how ought we to interpret that and receive it without misunderstanding the point he's making?
Yeah, this is fascinating. I'm so glad we got to this, Kevin. I was wanting to get there. You got us right to it. So thank you, as always, for leading the discussion so well. Here's what Voss is saying. These critics, you got to remember, they're anti-supernaturalist. They're rationalist. But they don't want to be utterly dismissive of everything the prophets say. And so they've got to find a way to account for two phenomena. Here's the key. I'm trying to focus it so we're all on point for next time. On the one side, the critics want to recognize, point one, that the prophets psychologically, they really did seem to think that they spoke with divine authority. At bare minimum, they thought what I'm saying
certainly
comes from God.
Right.
But as Kunin and others are going to make clear, they were mistaken about that. And so what you're going to see here is an anti-supernaturalist rationalism of a soft variety. The hard variety would say, we know that God doesn't speak in history. Kant has shown us that practical reason is going to access noumenal realities. Theoretical reason, the kind of reason we apply to history, can't even get you to religion. So, real crass, strong, philosophically self-conscious modernists are just going to dismiss the possibility of verbal revelation altogether. This brand of modernism is a little bit more sophisticated, and here's what they're going to do. They're going to say, look, let's be naturalistic, but let's look at the psychology of the prophets. What were the prophets wanting when they were speaking? Now we're not, I don't want to spoil Kunin's point, but what you have to do is you have to say, instead of dismissing them with our anti-supernaturalist rationalism, let's try to understand, now here's the key, their human and political motivation, their Zetzenleben, their life setting. Let's try to understand their own religious, political, personal motivation for making such a grand claim. And when we do that, maybe we'll find that they had a certain political motive to have as much authority as they could have so that they might be maximally influential and revered. And so you can already see that the shift for the liberal, this psychological move now, this studying their psychology, we're going to invest the prophets' self-understanding with categories derived from psychological studies of that time that domesticate and naturalize the phenomenon. So we're not going to look at exactly how it happens, but the whole point is that psychology is going to be used now to domesticate, naturalize, and modernize the prophets and explain their claim by a very different paradigm and a very different set of assumptions.